Hello friends, welcome to Heartlore, Irish at Heart. Join me, Nora, every week for a new episode, Mondays at 11:11 a.m. Irish time. Before I begin today, I'd like to let you know about a beautiful workshop that I'm running for Bridget's weekend in bulk in the Healers Dance in Blessington in County Wicklow. 10 o'clock until 12 on Saturday the 31st of January, where I will be inviting your inner child out to play. I will be telling stories of ancient Ireland, of Bridget and her family tree, and then we will have some creative play. This is a workshop for adults. I would love if some of you would come and join me. All of my contact details are in the links on my Spotify account and my YouTube account. So, on to the story. Today's episode is all about High King Cormac Mac Airt, who is often hailed as the greatest High King of Ireland. He was renowned for his wisdom, fairness and just rule. He was a fine figure of a man, and his description in Actra Cormac I Tír Tangari, Cormac's adventure in the land of promise, is so poetic that I have to read it verbatim. Excepting Conora, son of a Tarskel, or Croher, son of Cathbod, or Angus, son of the Dagda, his like in beauty had never come. Hair braids, slightly curled, all golden upon him. He bore a red shield with engraving and with milla of gold and bow ridges of silver. Around him was a mantle, purple, folded. A jewelled brooch of gold on his breast. A necklace of gold round his throat. Around him was a white hooded shirt with a red insertion. A girdle of gold with gems of precious stone over him. He wore 2 golden shoes of network with buckles of gold. In his hand he carried 2 golden ringed spears with many clasps of bronze. He was, moreover, shapely, fair, without blemish, without disgrace. Thou wouldst deem that a shower of pearls had been cast into his head. Thou wouldst deem that his mouth was a cluster of rowan berries. Whiter than snow was his nobly built body. His cheek was like a forest forkle or a mountain foxglove. Like bluebells were his eyes. Like the sheen of a dark blue blade, his eyebrows and his eyelashes. Like I say, a fine thing. Son of Airt and grandson of Con Céad Cathach, Con of the 100 Battles, Cormac became High King of Ireland in 218 and reigned until 254. He was married to Ethna Taobh Fodda, Ethna the Long-Sided, daughter of Dunlang, who may have been the King of Leinster, and foster daughter to Buicad. They had sons Carbra Lificar and Kellach, and 2 daughters, Grania and Alba Gruadbrec, Alba of the freckled cheeks. Kellach raped a niece of Angus Og, and a battle ensued in which Cormac was blinded in one eye. Remember the rule that a High King of Ireland could have no blemish? Cormac stepped down as High King, handing the throne to his other son, Carbra Lificar. It is said that Cormac converted to Christianity some years before his death, which angered the Sidhe, who, according to Laur Nehudra, killed him in 260. His sons tried to bury him at Brunabonia, but the River Boyne rose 3 times to oppose them because of Cormac's Christianity. So he was buried instead at Rosnaree in Meath. When his mother Octa was pregnant with Cormac, she had a strange dream. Namely, that her head was struck off from her body, and that out of her neck there grew a great tree, which extended its branches over all Ireland and flourished exceedingly. But a huge wave of the sea burst upon it and laid it low. Then from the roots of this tree there grew up another, but it did not attain the splendour of the first, and a blast of wind came from the west and overthrew it. At this, Octa woke up and elbowed her husband Airt, who was snoring beside her. A remarkable man he was. When she told him her dream, instead of telling her to go back to sleep, he said, "Your dream is a vision of the future. I am thy head, and this portends that I shall be violently taken from thee. But thou shalt bear me a son who shall be king of all Ireland, and shall rule with great power and glory until some disaster from the sea overtake him. But from him shall come yet another king, my grandson and thine, who shall also be cut down. The cause of his fall shall be the armies of the Fian host, who are swift and keen as the wind." Sure enough, not long after that, High King Airt fell in battle with the Picts and the Britons. The leader of the invaders was Mac Con, a nephew of Airt's, who had been banished out of Ireland for rising against the High King. Mac Con seized the throne and reigned unlawfully for many years. Forewarned by Octa's dream, Airt had advised that if he fell in battle, that she was to seek out his faithful friend Luna, who would protect her and her unborn son. She set off with her maid, but as these things go, she went into labour on the way. In a wild wood in Creva, in County Mayo, on a couch of twigs and leaves, she gave birth to a noble son. She instructed her maid to keep watch as she and her son slept. But the maid, who was pretty knackered herself after all the fleeing and the birthing and whatnot, fell asleep herself. As they all slept, a she-wolf crossed into their clearing. She softly picked up the infant and bore him off to a stony cave, which is now known as Cormac's Cave in Keshcoran in County Sligo. Well, Mammy was beside herself when she woke up to find her little bundle of joy gone. But though they searched high up and low down, there was no trace of him to be had. Luna and his men joined the search a little later, but still no luck. Luna made a declaration that whomsoever should provide information leading to the child's safe return could name his reward. Some time passed until one day a man named Grec was hunting in the woods. He came to a cave in the side of a hill and witnessed wolf cubs at play, and among them a naked child on all fours gambolling with them, and a great she-wolf mothering them all. "Lovely jubbly," cried Grec, and off he goes to Luna. "What will you give me for the return of the king's son?" "Name your price," said Luna. "Good stuff," says Grec, and he asked for certain lands. Luna promised him the lands, and Grec led him to the cave. Luna took the child with him and named him Cormac, or the chariot child. He raised him in secret so that Mac Con did not learn of him. Cormac grew up to be a strong and noble youth who was wise and eloquent in speech. One day, while he was at play with Luna's sons, an argument broke out, and Cormac struck one of them to the ground. The boy called him that name that meant he didn't know who his father was, and Cormac was ashamed. He went to Luna, who saw that now was the time to tell Cormac of his heritage. The land pines for thee even now, for there is no good yield from earth or sea under the unlawful rule of him who now sits on the throne of art. So, says Cormac, let's get off to Tara and sort this lad out. The following morning, a group gathered at Coran under Luna. A bodyguard of outlawed men that had revolted against Mac other lords that had gathered themselves together, and the 4 wolves that had been cubs with Cormac when the she-wolf suckled him. Cormac was taken on as a pupil of the king to be taught arms and poetry and law, and as time passed, people turned more and more to him because the rule of Mac was not good. One day, a case came before the king for judgment. The queen was suing a poor sheep farmer whose sheep had strayed into the queen's fields and eaten her crops. The king gave judgment that the sheep which had eaten the crops were to be given to the queen in compensation for what they had destroyed. Then Cormac rose up before the people and said, "That is unfair. Crops will grow again. So it is the wool of the sheep that should be given in compensation, for that too will grow again." The crowd cheered. A true judgment, that is, the judgment of a king's son. Mac druids observed the crowds of people and advised him to get the hell out of Dodge. And so Cormac reclaimed his rightful throne and was High King of all Ireland. Mac went to Munster to rally his friends there to recover the kingdom. But Cormac's men caught up with him, and he was slain. The land was happy. The rightful king once more ruled the land, and it yielded harvests such as never were known, while the forest trees dripped with the abundance of honey, and the lakes and rivers were alive with fish. So much game was there too, that the folk could have lived on that alone and never put a ploughshare in the soil. In Cormac's time, the autumn was not vexed with rain, nor the spring with icy winds, nor the summer with parching heat, nor the winter with whelming snows. His rule in Éireann, it is said, was like a wand of gold laid on a dish of silver. And to the end of his life it was his way to have wolves about him, for he knew their speech and they his, and they were friendly and tame with him and his folk, since they were foster brothers together in the wild wood. That's all for today, folks. If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to support my creativity, I would be thrilled if you would buy me a coffee. The link is in the About section of this podcast on YouTube and Spotify. And also, please share this podcast. Tune in the same time, same place, next Monday, 11:11 a.m. Irish time, on the Heartlore podcast. I hold inner child, storytelling and creativity workshops for adults, and I also create personalised workshops. If you are interested, please do get in touch. My email address is heartlore@icloud.com, and all of my contact details are in the About section in this podcast. Until next time, folks, good night and bóthar live. May the road rise with you.